You're literally doing it right now. In fact, you'll do it about 20,000 times today and probably won't think about it once. But have you ever stopped to consider the incredible journey a single breath takes? Today, we're going to follow that path. And trust me, you'll be amazed by the complex, vital system at work inside you.
Go on, just try it. Take a really deep breath. Now let it out. You know, that air you just pulled in, it went on this wild, high-speed trip through a super sophisticated machine, your body. So in this explainer, we're going to follow that exact path, from the air around you all the way down to the very heart of your cells.
So what's the point of all this? Well, at its core, every single breath is a mission. It's called gas exchange. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like a swap meet. Your body is bringing in the good stuff, right? Oxygen. That's the essential fuel for trillions of your cells. And in return, it's getting rid of the junk, the carbon dioxide, which is the waste product from all their hard work. And why do we need this oxygen so badly? Well, it's the key ingredient for something called aerobic respiration. That's just the fancy term for the process inside your cells that turns your food into actual energy. It's really simple. No oxygen, no energy, period. So every single part of the system we're about to explore has one job: deliver that fuel.
Okay, so let's trace the journey. The air starts its adventure, obviously, by entering your body. Then it goes through this whole series of branching tubes. There are 5 main stops on its way down to the lungs, and you'll probably want to remember this order. It goes nose, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, and then the final stop, the alveoli.
First stop, your nose. And you can think of it as your body's built-in air conditioning and filtration unit. Seriously, before that air ever gets close to your delicate lungs, the nose cleans it with tiny hairs and mucus. It warms it up to the perfect body temperature and it adds moisture. The mouth, that's really just the backup plan, you know, for when you're exercising hard and you just need to get more air in fast.
Okay, from the nose, the air travels down the trachea. You probably know it as the windpipe. And this thing is an amazing piece of biological engineering. It's got these C-shaped rings of cartilage that keep it propped open so it doesn't collapse. But get this, it's also a self-cleaning filter. There's a lining of mucus that traps any dust or bacteria that got past the nose, and then these tiny little hairs called cilia are constantly sweeping that gunk up and away from your lungs. Pretty clever, right?
So, after the trachea, our journey hits a fork in the road. The airway literally splits into 2 tubes. These are called the bronchi, and one heads off into each lung. And just like the trachea, they're also supported by cartilage to make sure they stay open and the air has a clear path.
Once we're inside the lungs, those bronchi just keep branching and branching into thousands of even smaller tubes. These are the bronchioles. Now here's a super important difference. These little guys don't have cartilage. Their walls are muscular, and that means they can actually constrict or dilate, which gives your body really precise control over how much air gets to where it's going next, which is the most important destination of all.
So, what is this final destination? Well, we've finally reached the end of the line. And we're not talking about 1 or 2 final stops. We're talking about millions of them. Tiny, microscopic little air sacs at the very end of every single bronchiole. We've arrived. This is it, the alveoli. This is where the magic happens. After that whole journey, this is the spot where that vital swap, oxygen for carbon dioxide, actually goes down. So how does this swap happen? It's all powered by a really simple law of physics called diffusion. All it means is that gases naturally move from a place where there's a lot of them to a place where there's less of them. It's called moving down a concentration gradient. The coolest part? Your body doesn't even have to use any energy to make this happen. It's totally automatic. And let me tell you, the alveoli are perfectly designed for this job. Now, if you're studying for an exam, this is a big one. Pay attention. To make diffusion happen super efficiently, you need 4 things. And guess what? The alveoli have them all. First, a huge surface area. I'm talking spread them out and they'd cover a tennis court. Second, incredibly thin walls, just 1 single cell thick, so the gases don't have far to travel. Third, a moist surface, which helps the gases dissolve. And finally, a really rich blood supply from a whole network of tiny capillaries, just waiting to grab that oxygen and get it moving. Okay, so once the oxygen makes that jump into the blood, it doesn't just float around on its own. Nope. It immediately hitches a ride on a special protein in your red blood cells. That protein is called hemoglobin. They bind together, forming oxyhemoglobin, and that's how it gets transported, super efficiently, to every single cell in your body that's waiting for it. So we've followed the path of the air. We've seen the magic of the exchange, but hang on. What's actually powering all of this? What's the engine that drives this whole process? I mean, what physically pulls air into your lungs and then pushes it back out?
Well, it all comes down to a brilliant little mechanical pump, and it's powered by your muscles. Here's how it works. When you breathe in, your diaphragm contracts and flattens out, and your rib muscles pull your rib cage up and out. All of that makes the space inside your chest bigger. Bigger space means lower pressure, and air rushes in to fill it. Breathing out is even simpler. Those muscles just relax, the chest cavity shrinks back down, the pressure goes up, and the air is forced out. It's just this elegant cycle of changing pressure.
All right, let's do a quick-fire recap of the really important keywords here. We've got diffusion, which happens down a concentration gradient. We learned that the alveoli's large surface area, thin walls, and moist surface are totally crucial, along with all those capillaries. All of this comes together to make gas exchange happen. And the whole mechanical process of breathing in and out, that's called ventilation. If you can remember those terms, you've pretty much got this whole system down.
Look, if you need to boil this whole incredible journey down to just one sentence, this is it. The respiratory system's job is to let oxygen enter the blood and carbon dioxide leave the body, and that all happens through gas exchange in the alveoli. That's it. That's the whole ballgame. It's just an incredible system, isn't it? It's so perfectly designed, and it's working tirelessly for you every single second, and you don't even have to think about it. Which kind of leaves us with one last really important thought. This system is so powerful, but it's also incredibly delicate. So, what happens when it gets compromised? By things like pollution or disease. It's definitely something to think about with your next breath.